Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 5 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake playthrough. I seem to be doing all the remakes lately. It's kind of fun. I get to go through these PlayStation classics reimagined for the modern day, or just given some fancy fur textures in the case of Crash Bandicoot. But yeah, I'm happy.
We haven't done remake 3 yet, have we?
Nah,
Resident Evil?
no, we haven't
Yeah.
done Remake 3.
I can do that.
What all
If
these
nobody else
games
wants
being
to.
remade, but they jump from 2 to 3 to 7. Is this weird?
I like Betty. Betty's memorable. She's got the scrunchie, and she's got the cat, and she's cute.
Okay, let me tell you all about them.
So, okay, I don't know if this is just me, but the animations for Tifa when you're talking around, like walking around and in the cutscenes and talking to people, feel kind of puppetish and weird.
They all
to me.
kinda, really.
Yeah, like the other characters are better. Like Cloud and Barrett seem fine.
They get into a little too much anime posing
Well,
territory.
yeah, it's because, Tifa's gotta have that anime, feminine, posing stuff that I'm pretty sure no one outside of Japan actually does, so why are you doing it in a Western setting? Stop that. But, so she's doing all those stances that you see in a million other games, and it doesn't help that in this context we're also talking about the low budget stock animations, but the poses themselves are so iconic of low budget stock anime games that it magnifies the stock animationiness of it. So in her case, it's a little it jumps at you.
I think for like these dialogue exchanges with side quests and all that, they pull from a number of stock animations.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it's not as apparent during like actual in-game cutscenes.
Oh yeah, the actual in-game cutscenes are clearly mocapped and have really
Yes.
intricate facial animations, and as they have been doing since 13, they re-lip synced everything to English, so it looks just as natural in English as it does in Japanese. None of that Final Fantasy 12 we're mouthing over lines that don't match our mouths anymore.
Yeah, no
Bullshit.
Godzilla.
But even by
mouths.
12 they did that? Because I know 10.2 fixed the lip syncing issue.
10-2 semi-fixed the lip syncing issue.
They fixed it,
it was
because at that point
better.
they already started doing that thanks to Kingdom
No,
Hearts.
well, in 10-2's case, it was more that they fixed the lip syncing issue for the Japanese, and they did the English dialogue dubbed to the English, so the English voice acting came out a bit weird, but it semi-matched the voice. Because
by
was
10,
by
no,
10-2
because by,
they
by
started.
Final Fantasy
By 10-2 they started.
Final Fantasy X had the issue of them not matching the lip syncing to the English dialogue. They had to match with the Japanese.
They didn't really match the Japanese either.
Well, no, that's
That
what
was the attempt, at
anyway,
least.
that was the yeah, exactly. But most of 10's voice acting troubles, besides like folks taking shit out of context, was as a result of them trying to match the lip
you don't.
syncing
No,
of-
hold the phone. You don't get to.
What?
You don't get to talk around that terrible voice acting in that scene.
It's supposed to be bad.
Yeah. Okay. So is happy.
Why does
Festival
everybody forget the
fireworks, yeah?
Everybody is quick to.
Oh,
like,
I don't think you should be laughing anymore.
The laugh was supposed to sound awful because
Yeah,
Tidus
but
was
the
being
rest of the
super
voice
sarcastic,
acting in
but-
that scene is.
I'm not
also
saying the
bad.
rest of the voice acting was great. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying there is a problem that stems with it as in a technical level, is because they had to match the lip syncing with the Japanese dub,
Yeah.
which they did not have that problem with 10.2. 10.2 they actually did fix the lip syncing to match with the English.
I mean,
dialogue.
it's still bad, though, and you can tell because we have Waka in this game.
I don't think 12 matched the lip syncing though. I don't remember it matching anyway.
I'm not talking about 12. I'm talking about
Oh yeah,
10.2.
yeah, but 12 was what I mentioned to
Yeah.
bring
12
up.
I can't speak for too much because I haven't.
Yeah,
finished 12.
I mentioned 12 and you brought up 10 too. So.
I mean, it's still a problem in 10 too, because again, we have Waka in this game.
Oh.
We can tell the difference between the actor being in
Yeah, the
multiple
only
times.
time John DiMaggio was ever disliked in a role. But yeah, I mean, the voice actors that were in 10, they're good. They're good shit. Like, Tidus's voice actor, I forget his name. I always forget their names, but
Oh, I forget
James
his
Arnold
name
Taylor.
too.
he
but
does a
he's
really good Ratchet. Yeah. Well, he
James
does
Arnold Taylor.
he does a really good Ratchet even when the version of Ratchet he's voicing isn't good. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the bad voice acting can be brought to bad direction versus bad versus bad acting.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the director's bad and they only have time for one take, so go 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 go. You know, and the actor's like, okay, fine, they're not paying me enough for this shit.
That's why nowadays, because I certainly didn't think that way like 15 years ago. Like, the voice acting is terrible. I hope that guy was fired. No, the more in line now, I'm more attribute to it just bad direction. Like overall, because I know some of these.
Well,
guys,
it could be a mix of things. From there certainly are bad actors out there. Let's not
Yeah, of
say
course.
actors are
No,
all
no,
completely
yeah,
innocent in every regard. It's usually a combination of some level of bad actors, depending on the game, bad direction, time crunch, etc., etc.
Yeah. That having been said, the acting in this game is freaking amazing. There are a few voices that I feel are a bit off. I'm not entirely sure about how I feel about Aerith's voice, but that might just be because I'm used to her Crisis Core voice. So
They
I'm...
recast everybody, right?
Oh, yes.
I think it was
Yes.
Rachel Lake Cook was the voice of Tifa, starting with Kingdom Hearts 2 and Advent Children.
You weren't kidding about the frickin' Fallout style.
Vending machines, yeah. Energy drink potion. Now we know what potions are in the context of the Final Fantasy universe, though. They're energy drinks, which is probably, like, way more relatable to Japan than here, because, yeah, we have energy drinks, but they have energy drinks. Like, up
It
the
took
wazoo.
me so long to realize that the save point icon was on the benches.
Oh, it took you
Like-
a while.
Yeah, it took me a while to realize that because I'm so used to that floating save.
If a fantasy universe had potions, though, wouldn't they become energy drinks over time? Didn't they used to call sodas elixirs or something? Like, wasn't that what they used to call Coca-Cola back in old-timey days? It was some kind of elixir.
Yeah, or
More so that was
tonics.
seltzer.
That's also
Tonics, yeah.
yeah. That's a tonic is a slang for soda here in Boston that only old people use. And so my aunt would be like, "Oh,
The
are you
future
going
is
to get
now,
a
old
tonic?"
man.
And I'm like,
Well, I mean,
no.
it's an alternative to coffee and tea as far as caffeine intake and energy is concerned. So
I
it
mean,
makes
Ted,
sense.
if you want to get that way, in Chicago they used to call a soda pop.
Oh God.
Oh, the West PA still calls it pop.
Yeah,
It
they
drives me
do.
fucking
In West,
insane.
my dad's family's from West PA. They call it pop, and they're a bunch of weird semi.
You know,
It's strange.
Yeah.
You know what I really started to appreciate at this point in the game was the ability to just scan my enemies whenever I wanted. You know why I appreciate that? Because Final Fantasy 15 buggered that up. Final Fantasy 15 had this awful tactical pause system that you had to turn on in the options menu to even use. It was called wait, like the wait system from ATV, you know? Except how it worked is whenever you stopped moving, time would freeze. So you couldn't even activate it at the press of a button.
Oh, that does seem awkward.
It made combat really awkward, so I could never bear to turn it on. But you could only get scan data in wait mode. So if you wanted to scan enemies, you had to turn it on. So you had to keep going back into the options menu whenever you encountered a new enemy type, so that you could turn wait mode on, so that you could scan the enemy.
So, is Final Fantasy 15 actually a good game now that it's been updated 6 times?
It's a generally good game, not a great one.
It's a good game with some really big design flaws.
Yeah, I like to compare it to something general audiences to our channel will recognize. It's kind of like the Sonic Unleashed to Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
It's a step firmly in the right direction, but it is not exactly a great game.
Johnny.
What?
You just are too stupid for this world, but Tifa wouldn't let me end you.
Well, that's the last time I joined a BrainScratch company.
Johnny here is a joy every time he's on screen. He was this recurring NPC in the original game who would just be showing up, doing stupid and embarrassing stuff in the background of certain settings, but he was never a major thing. You could ignore him if you wanted. He just showed up here in the Sector 7 slums and went on a journey for self-discovery reasons, I guess, and would reappear in different places across the world. I guess he's kind of the Final Fantasy analog to those tourists from Trails, Anton and Ricky, who show up in every game. But unlike those guys, Johnny doesn't have...
optional boss Johnny by the end of the remake.
Optional boss Johnny, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Turns
That's
out
his
he's
title,
a Sephiroth
actually.
clone all along.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Johnny.
The reason that the reason that Advent Children happened in the first place was because Johnny was the Sephiroth clone that everybody missed, and he turned into Kadaj or something. No, he would turn into the fist fighting guy with that hairdo. He was
Wait,
that guy.
are you making a joke or is that actually?
No,
No, we're making a joke.
no. But it would be funny. It's kind of like Jar Jar Binks as the final boss material for game theorying, though. Um, he is kind of the Jar Jar Binks of Final Fantasy VII, although not halfway as annoying. But they have a series of little quests that you can do, and there's an achievement for experiencing all the Johnny quests in the game, which you might not actually do because there's this annoying part halfway through the game where there's a branching path in the quest line, and one of them doesn't have Johnny in it, so you only get the Johnny achievement if you follow the other one.
It's a completely different set of quests that threw me off because everyone was talking about doing these quests, like, but no, my quest log said I was complete.
Yeah, in Wall Market you can do quests depending on certain factors, certain choices you make that aren't actually telegraphed to you as being tied to this choice. You can wind up doing a quest line for Chocobo Billy, I think his name is, or
Chocobo Sam.
or the woman at the hand massage parlor.
Chocobo Sam, the guy who wants to sell you a nice Ford pickup and kick a cold one back with the boys at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh my god! If we were talking about the music earlier, so clean rips of the jukebox songs have been uploaded to YouTube. I'm not sure if they're still there.
Oh, so the music
But-
without the jukebox distortion.
Yeah, exactly. They've been ripped and cleaned up, and they sound amazing. If you could take time out of your schedule to look at it, listen to them, please do. They are amazing compositions.
Yeah, yes they are. I like how they let you walk around back here, but both paths to the front of the bar are blocked by tables, chairs, and people, so you can't.
Cloud, just move sideways a little bit.
Yeah, you'll shimmy through everything else except two tables.
Even though the map tells you that you can go that way, sort of, you can't. It's just a waste of. It's just a waste of space. They might as well put some boxes there to stop you from wasting your time, but they didn't. Trolls.
That cat would not let you.
I like the punchline to this quest, by the way, which is like the cats knew where to go all along to get back to Betty, but Cloud just scares them so bad they run back to her.
Oh, so this is the God, what's his name? General White Quest of Final Fantasy VII.
No, they're technically three different cats.
It's
okay.
a little more similar to a quest at the beginning of Trails in the Sky, where you have to chase down a cat, and Estelle keeps scaring it away while it's trying to get back to its master. It's the same
Do
kind
not
of
deny
punchline.
me. Embrace me.
But yeah. Oh, low textures on that little metal structure.
How do
there.
you feel about you were mentioning the NPCs having a lot of dialogue off kilter, like not in cutscenes. So how do you feel? Sometimes I feel it's overdone, specifically in Sector 7 and in 5, where the population is at its most apparent.
There was one point where I saw on the side of the screen like 6 different bubbles pop up because 6 different
Oh
NPCs
yeah,
were
you are
talking.
not going to be able to track these conversations while playing normally. It's just they have these ambient conversations because otherwise they're just people standing around waiting for you to talk to them, and that's kind of inorganic.
I feel it's a double-edged sword.
Like,
Because at one point I want to listen to these conversations, but there's like 3 of them going off at the
oh
same
yeah,
time.
if you want to really listen to them, you're probably gonna have to go on YouTube and look up some audio archive of the conversations or something. Have they
Or
made
you
one of those
just
yet?
be socially awkward like me and learn how to eavesdrop really, really good. I mean, what?
In a game like Persona 5, where everything is text when you're outside of a super important cutscene, it makes sense that the conversations only play when you hit the listen button and stand next to a couple people. In a game that's all verbal, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that you wouldn't be hearing random conversations playing out in the background. And I know that it's just, a quirk of the of game design, but they're trying to overcome that quirk and make the areas feel more natural and lived in by having these conversations playing out in the background as you explore. Because, these people aren't just going to be standing around doing nothing, they're going to be talking to each other. That's what people do. But yeah, it achieves a mixed result, but I feel it gains more than it loses. the only aggravation I feel is that I had to break myself out of that RPG habit of wanting to hear every single solitary line of dialogue the game has to offer, because that's not gonna happen here. You're gonna miss something because it plays automatically. Maybe it'll play again for you when you come back to that area later, but don't stress. Just let it wash over you like background noise. Very interesting background noise that tells you a little bit about the people.
Fuck this. Let's just go dash the girl's dreams.
Your cats are dead. Ba, 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 ba.
You got a potion. Yay!
I'm gonna drink it right in front of you. Oh my goodness, this potion is a delight.
So, never gonna see them again? You guys! You came back!
Ah,
That a scary man
that's
was
cute. The hair is really nice, but it's also really ugly sometimes. And we got to see like 2 rapid-fire examples of both in that cutscene. Sometimes the lighting just hits the hair in a weird way. It's interesting that they can't seem to get this consistently right, but goddamn, they're trying, and they won't give up.
So does that cutscene happen when you do all the side quests in the area?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Once you got all the side quests done, the character's like, yeah, we're done. We can do that. But, okay, here's the thing. When doing all of the side quests in a particular hub area triggers an event that you can play, an event scene that you can play with the character that happens to be your partner for that hub. In this case, it's Tifa. In the second case, it's Aerith. These play into the affinity ratings. One of the reasons Barret is, as usual, so hard to get affinity points for is that you basically have to focus on not doing affinity points for the other characters in order to make it happen, because there's not so many opportunities to actually gain points with him.
So in order to be with Barret, you have to be a dick to everyone else.
Basically, yes.
Basically,
Be a dick to everybody else and do the 1 or 2 things you can do nice to Barret, I guess.
yeah. The events. Oh, we got Barrett's theme. Nice. Oh yeah, that's another thing that you can get from vending machines and from shops is collectible records for music, and I somehow managed to miss exactly 1 on my playthrough of the game.
Oh,
Aw,
I miss exactly 1 on my playthrough too.
Oh man, gotta get all of those vinyls.
Well, there is a trophy for it, but
Every time you wander around, you see question marks. You stop what you're doing. Wonder how you get that piece.
the thing about the vinyls, though. Oh wait, we're not done all the quests. What am I thinking?
This one is technically outside the 7 slums.
Right. The thing about the vinyls, though, is that they're not music from the rest of the soundtrack. They're actually their own set of music tracks. So they're just collectible music tracks for the sake of having music tracks, which is cool. More games need to have extras like that. Oh, it's this mission. I remember this mission. The warehouse. Right.
Is this one where you're searching for the key cards, or am I jumping ahead?
That's the second mission in this area, yeah.
Okay.
The first mission just sends you into the warehouse to go kill some stuff. And then the second mission sends you in to open a specific door on one side. If you paid attention on your way through the first time, it's actually really quick to get into that door though, because it's like right over here, and you don't have to go very far.
This is something I do like them. I appreciate them doing, whether it feels intentional or not. But them integrating enemies from different sectors into Sector 7 early, because these enemies you originally didn't fight until Sector 6.
Yeah. You know what I really appreciated though? Oh, hey, I got triple slash. You know what I really appreciated though is they used every single enemy from this chunk of the game at some point somewhere. And I appreciate that, because Final Fantasy VII was the last main series game to have a wide variety of enemy models in it. Because at that point they realized it was a bit too expensive to make models for every single random enemy that you encountered, or maybe not even encountered, because of the random battle system and the world map.
We need Red Goblin, Blue Goblin,
Yeah,
Green Goblin.
I'd say 9's I'd say 9 has a decent variety.
9 has a decent variety. Yeah, they went back. They went back to an old school mindset for that one. So they did do more enemies for 9 than they did for 8. 8 used the same enemies throughout the game and just leveled them up with you. And Final Fantasy X, of course, just had
Ice cream.
yes, 700 varieties of ice cream scoop monster. And
It's weird that so many games on the PS2, despite being like, oh, new high power, so much disk space, there's a lot of games on the PS2 with really terrible enemy variety. Like, if I remember correctly, Tales of the Abyss on PS2 had pretty lame enemy variety. Like, it's just wolves and blobs.
The final boss is just a simple recolor of the first enemy of the game. Oh shit! Did I guess that?
Not really, but it's
Okay.
there's some. Oh god, never mind. I don't want to go into.
Forget I asked.
Yeah.
did we spark some childhood trauma there, Ted?
Well, not childhood. I played that game like 2013.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just oh god, that game's a mess. But anyway.
Now, unfortunately, there isn't a jump button in this game, so when enemies are clinging to walls like that, you kind of have to get creative with the area of effect that you have.
Well, no, you can. For Cloud and Tifa, you can just
Oh,
hit
yeah.
the attack button and they'll leap up. They'll leap
Yeah,
up and hit them.
but I don't like doing that because it feels really stiff and clumsy, and yeah, I don't like doing it.
There are my brain's crossed wires so hard a lot of times getting into this battle system because I played a lot of Kingdom Hearts, and the system was reminding me a lot of Kingdom Hearts except for the mobility. You cannot jump. When you get knocked into the air, I keep instinctively hitting the circle button to do an air recovery, which is not in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's not, you don't have as much finesse, but I do like the grounded feeling of the combat because like when you hit hard in this game, it really fucking feels.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's one of the things I've never liked about Kingdom Hearts was how flippy twirly. I could just stay in the air for 20 minutes and it's like just fly, Sora. Why do you need to run everywhere?
Eventually, he does
Fly.
just start flying, but
That was something I mean, I didn't play a lot of Kingdom Hearts. I played maybe 4 or 5 hours, but I felt like my standard hits had no impact in that game. Whereas,
Which is fair.
I think it fit the style of the game to not be all that impactful, considering you're whacking a bunch of cartoon demon-y things with a giant
Yeah,
key,
but I didn't. If
And
that
then there's the Heartless.
if that was the case, though, I would have wanted like Tom and Jerry real like punch cartoon slapstick sort of feeling to it. You know, not like in this game you feel like you have a lot
yeah,
of
well,
punch slash.
it's Disney, and Disney was never really slapstick. So when I say it,
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but it also should. It just didn't feel satisfying for me to hit.
Yeah, I understand that. I found Kingdom Hearts really addicting on a gameplay level. Story is another matter, but gameplay is really addicting. But, you know, different strokes for different folks. I understand why some people wouldn't like it. The thing, though, about staying in the air all the time is... I think what makes it aggravating is less that it happens and less that it takes very little skill to accomplish in Kingdom Hearts. If that makes sense. Like, if you play Devil May Cry, for example, staying in the air all the time, like, to accomplish that, you need to do some pretty precise stuff. So it feels satisfying when you manage to do it. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts, when you're constantly in the air forever, it's more a matter of just playing normally. And that feels a little weird, doesn't it?
Yes.
We'll do Kingdom Hearts eventually.
Eventually.
I'm not ready to carry that entire commentary though. That's the thing.
Derek said he wanted to join us if we did it, so then you two can geek out for the whole thing, and I can take a nap in the corner.
Well, you know, I'll have a lot to say about Kingdom Hearts. I'm just not exactly excited about the prospect of recording it.
Yeah, so yeah. See, we'd have 3 people talking about the game. I could take an even longer nap in the corner.
There's a lot to talk about in Kingdom Hearts. It's just that, you know, it's a game that I only ever play once in a blue moon. So I need to be in a certain kind of mood. It's a little like Fatal Frame, except a completely different genre.
Yeah, now there's a lot of games like that where it's just like, oh, I enjoy this game. It's really.
I'm only ever
fun.
gonna play it. I'm only ever gonna play it once, so.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily only going to play it once, but at the same time, some types of games I just don't want to play unless I'm in a specific kind of mood. Like, I'll play Fatal Frame more than once. I'll probably, by the time I'm dead, I'll probably have played through it 10 or 15 times. But it's only going to happen when I'm in the mood for it. It's not something that I can just jump into and enjoy at any time, like Mario Odyssey, for example. Or
Yeah, for me, it has a lot to do with what I had played recently, because, like, let's just say, for sake of argument, I have just beaten a big, long RPG. I'm probably not going to want to play another big, long RPG or any kind of game that is heavy story-focused. I'm probably going to want to play something lighter, you know, which is usually when I will go and play something like, I don't know, Mega Man, that I don't normally go out of my way to play, but, you know, I think is fun every once in a while. Yeah. And on the flip side, you know, I can only play so many beat-em-ups or 3D action games in a row before I feel like I need something a little bit meatier.
yeah.
And then I generally switch back into playing a 100-hour RPG for the next 2 months. So
I'm a little bit of the opposite at the moment. I played 2 Trails games in a row lately, and now I can't stand to look at a turn-based battle system anymore.
well, I'm in that mode at the moment as well. Like I'm not really playing any RPGs at the moment. I'm like very slowly playing Dragon Quest III again just for fun whenever I need to do something like that doesn't take much thought, since I've beaten that game a bunch of times. But for the moment, what I've been playing is Mario Galaxy, because I have the Switch version of that, and Streets of Rage 4, because that game's awesome. And they're apparently doing DLC soon, so I hope they add the characters I want them to add. But we'll
Just give me a stone as an immediate revisit.
It's Sega, so will they add Sonic the Hedgehog?
There is, if you look in the concept art that they have in the game that's unlockable, there's a random Sonic piece of key art from Sonic X just standing in one of the maps that they have for like the pier area, and I have no idea why.
They also could add Kiryu, because that's also Sega, and that's also a beat 'em up.
There is a Sonic reference in the game. There are.
Well, I think most of the Streets of Rage have a Sonic reference in there.
In Streets of Rage, I don't know about the earlier games. In Streets of Rage 4, there's like the Sonic rings as graffiti in one of the sections. I think there's also a Shinobu reference, but I could be wrong about that. There's also a lot of, obviously, Streets of Rage references in there, because it was clear the developers of that game loved the earlier entries.
Shinobu?
Not Shinobu.
Shinobi.
Shinobu. Who's Shinobu? Oh, is that
More Heroes.
No More Heroes.
Yeah, that's the girl from No More Heroes. Wow.
No, that's the girl from the Travis series.
from Travis. Shinobu from Travis.
Shinobu is a not entirely uncommon Japanese name, so there's quite a few characters named that.
Man, I can't wait for Travis 3. Won't that be great?
I don't know what's up with the ESRB on that.
Travis strikes again.
Either. And that's it. That's the only reason, right? It's ESRB. That's the best stuff from naming it No More Heroes.
I guess.
Just
Well,
Travis.
why can't they? Why No More Heroes? It's just a game name.
Because
And they
it has something to do with it being M-rated or something.
Because the same thing happened with
Vault Boy and Altair.
Altair from Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
Yes.
but what they have Bayonetta in the game. They reference Bayonetta by name. They don't call her Booby Witch Lady.
I think that at that point they had an impasse because the Bayonetta is the name of the game and also the name of the character.
So what? They would have. Oh well, in that case they couldn't get around it, because if they wanted to try and call it Bayonetta, it's just like, oh, ooh, shit.
They could have named her Cereza.
No, but that's a spoiler though.
So they don't
Like
care.
anybody, no, the Bayonetta story sucks. So I mean,
I like
I don't know
Bayonetta's
how many.
story
I don't know
well
how
enough.
much. Oh, I hate it. I can't stand.
I mean, it's not good.
I've never played 2, but the cutscenes in 1 are like painful for me. I can't stand the story in that game. But we'll do that game eventually for BrainScratch.
You
I'm
have
sure.
no soul.
I mean, yes, that's true. But tell me something I don't know. God.
So, anyway, we're done at the warehouse. I think there might be another warehouse quest. Just flew in from the graveyard. Yes, this is the one where you need to find a key card and go fight a little sub-boss dragon. I think this is the last...
This thing is not marked at all, too. You got to scavenge for this shit.
Yeah, it's The key card you need to find is inside one of the breakable crates in the warehouse. So you need to find the correct crate. I think it's always a set crate. So once
Yeah, it's always the same one.
so once you
Do
know
you
where
have
it
to
is, you can
do you have
just
to
grab
start
it,
the
but-
quest in order for the card to appear in the
Yes,
box?
you do.
Yes.
God.
The side quests in Final Fantasy VII Remake are not spectacular. They do tend to have you do some pretty basic things, and the writing is not on the level of Yakuza. However much one wants to compare Wall Market to Kamurocho, but they're still better side quests than some other games do these days. So it does deserve a little credit. It's just, a little bit too dry for its own good, I think.
It feels like you're playing two separate games in a lot of regards. Like, there are a lot of parts of this game that I adore where it's hitting all the right story and character beats, and the music's great, and the graphics are phenomenal, and all this. And then you get to periods of the game like this where you have a pretty meh-looking NPC giving you a really basic go slay the monster hero quest.
It's clear that Square is still trying to get their head around how to do more open RPGs in a good manner.
I should say this aspect of, like, they don't know how to mix the linear storytelling beats with the open stuff.
Yeah.
I guess is the thing, because the Dragon Quest XI is a RPG as basic as it can get, but in the good way, where a lot of people kind of forget that many RPGs on the SNES and NES weren't really super linear. A lot of them were, go find the 4 magical things that will save the world, and you can, a lot of the time, find thing 1, 2, 3, and 4 in whatever order you want.
Yeah, that's the Ultima formula.
And so, like, Dragon Quest particularly is like that, but even some of the Final Fantasies can be like that at times. Final Fantasy VI is probably the best example of this, where the second half of the game is almost entirely non-linear. And Dragon Quest XI is very similar to that, and they mix the story, they mix cool little segregated story beats and open world exploration pretty well in that. And so Chrono Trigger, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm talking about a modern game, so to be like, well, why can't Square just do it for Final Fantasy II? Was what I'm saying.
No, but they did it before, though. Chrono Trigger.
Right. When I
that's
say
because Chrono Trigger is a Dragon Quest game with the Final Fantasy battle system.
when I say more open, I don't just mean non-linear. What I mean is lots of little objectives to complete within that framework. It doesn't matter whether it's
single-player MMO, you mean?
Yeah, kind of. Which is why Yoshi P probably is a good thing for Final Fantasy 16. But in Final Fantasy 15's case, we have this big ass open world, and it's fun to explore. But the quests that you do in the open world tend to be of a fairly vanilla nature. Go hunt down this monster, that sort of thing.
You also can do a lot of them really early, so by the time you get to time to start the story, recommended level 5, looks at character sheet, level 40.
Yeah, that happens,
I think I'm
especially if
ready.
you use Prompto to cheese the Iron Giants at night. But,
Wait, is that actually how Final Fantasy 15 is?
yeah.
Yes.
15 is so broad with its quests, and if you are of the mindset of, I need to do all these quests before I start doing main scenario, you are going to be so overpowered for main scenario.
Yeah, it's like, okay, the main scenario opens up chunks of the world as you progress, but each chunk of the world has a lot to do in it. So you could spend...
And the game doesn't cut in, for each area, the game doesn't gate any of it off. It's like, as long as you're there, you can do it.
Yeah. It also doesn't help that because of the frankly unrefined action combat, it is easy enough to just sort of grit your teeth and very meticulously take down really high-level enemies that appear at night in the very first section of the game. So you can gain a lot of experience points really early. And then once they added the ability to switch to Prompto, you can just switch to him and gun them down with impunity. So... it's a bit broken.
It's almost like they added in multiple characters when the game was clearly not balanced around those multiple characters.
That is exactly what they did, and it's why I don't like party switching in 15 very much. It's like, you're either, when you're party switching in 15, you're either playing as Prompto, which is easy mode, or you're playing as Noctis, which is normal mode, or you're playing as the other two, which is hard mode. I wish I was kidding. It's nice that they gave you the ability to switch to them, but... You have to unlock the ability to switch to each of them now.
Okay, they give you all the area fights in a moment where you don't have Barrett in your party.
Oh, jeez. Yeah,
this would have been nice to have the guy with the gun when you're fighting the thing that can fly.
For most of the game,
He's too busy watching the bar.
For most of the game, you have either Aerith or Barrett in your party, so there is a way to fight ranged enemies without too much trouble. But there are a few places where
I
you
thought
don't.
that she had a stick.
She shoots magic out of the stick.
Yeah,
okay.
they went Dragon Age 2 with her and just made her staff a projectile magic weapon instead of having her strike things with them, which is funny because the striking staff is still in the game. It's still called the striking staff, but you don't strike anybody with it.
So
But it's striking in appearance.
And you still need to steal it from the same enemy, which is a boss now, so you only get one shot.
It's also the only weapon you get from stealing.
No, why are you looking at me like that? I didn't miss the weapon during my playthrough. I'm not salty.
I didn't get either.
Final Fantasy has always been really annoying about stealing, because most other games you just assume that you can't steal anything from bosses, and Final Fantasy is the only exception. So you have to sit there and wait a half an hour while your thief steals from the boss.
Fucking fairy flute. Fairy flute.
That was only really Final Fantasy IX that had that specific problem, but that was because
Final Fantasy III. Final Fantasy III has a couple of different instances.
Oh, well, if we're talking about Final Fantasy III.
But I mean,
then,
that game is also very, very, very flawed.
But in Final Fantasy IX's case, it was because they gave every enemy in the game multiple tiers of stealable item, and the bosses.
And you always have a thief in your party.
Yeah, the bosses are like always. They always have the best shit, you know. So you want that top tier rare item.
Fucking fairy flute.
Yeah. In Final Fantasy VII's case, it was only like a very few specific enemies that had something worth stealing, really. So, yeah, you want to steal Hard Edge from the soldier 3rd class.
Stealing, I feel, 7 was pretty, not to the point of 9, but 7 you want to steal often, if you know, like ahead of time.
I didn't ever really bother with
the only
stealing.
times I steal from anything in Final Fantasy VII is the striking staff and Hard Edge. After that, it's just like I ignore the steal material
no,
entirely.
always steal against Turks.
The Turks? What do they have?
Tough Ring, which is plus 50 to strength and vitality.
Oh, the Tooth Ring.
I'm sorry, all right, sure. The Tooth Ring, yes, as it was originally called.
Wait, is it spelled tough like T-U-F-F?
The original spelling was T-O-U-P-H.
The Tooth Ring.
So it's tooth.
Wait, isn't that the Earthbender from Avatar?
Remove the U and yes.
they typoed it.
Yeah. So you can steal stuff like that. The Minerva band from Elena, you can steal that from her.
Right, yeah.
Which is like the best piece of.
The reason I never think to steal from the Turks is that by that point I'm so decked out that I really don't care.
Final
Also, what the
Fantasy
fuck's
VII
Tooth?
is an interesting game in which there are several ways in order to make it very, very easy, and it's just a matter of which one you find first.
Yeah, really.
Oh, so 6.
Yeah, that's the point I made earlier. We'll see you next time in Final
Yeah, it's like the end screen. This is where you're supposed to put the end. Isn't it a nice end screen though? It's really nice. Can't see it.